Hey guys, Kyle here. So, just before the show starts, I wanted to mention our Patreon. You can pay us $1 a month as a thank you, as a tip. You can pay $2 a month to get access to one of our bonus content shows, episodes 2 days early, and a secret Discord chat where all of our Patreon donors get to go and hang out and talk with us directly. Then there's a $5 tier that you can donate to get access to a whole bunch more content. We have multiple bonus episodes on there. So please check it out. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We don't advertise. We don't make money. So check it out and throw some money if you think that would be cool. Thanks. Welcome to It Gets Weird, our comedy show where we explore the unusual, the unbelievable, and the unexplained to try and make your world a little weirder. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Niall.
And this is...
How many? 318.
Okay, 318. I was going to ask how many episodes it's been.
In total or from some...
Up to now.
Okay, yeah, so this would be episode 318.
Okay.
Which, as far as I know, doesn't really have any
There's no,
meaning.
like...
There's no fun little, like,
There's
thing.
no funny, like...
For 316, you can do, like, John 316,
Right.
Austin 316. You can, like, 317, that was, like, an area code of phone numbers for us growing up.
Indiana folks, yeah. 314
cool.
we established as being the epic pi number.
Yep. 300 is just, like, a big
300,
number.
This is Sparta and all of that.
Yeah.
318. I'm not coming up with anything funny, unfortunately. So we're gonna have to invent a reason why 318 is really funny.
Well, the reason 318 is really funny is because it's an episode of It Gets Weird, Kyle.
That would be a great meme.
Yeah.
We might want to get that one circulating online.
We'll get that on knowyourmeme.com here.
We'll get that on. Do you think we have a Know Your Meme page?
Fuck if I know. I don't think we have a Wikipedia page yet, so I doubt we. I don't think so. I don't know how you get a Reddit forum.
I don't know. I don't use that website really, but
yeah.
It's like when people. Have you ever seen those things where like people will be like, "Oh, cool! Check out this image. I'm thinking it's a new meme." And they, like
it happens
on
often.
message boards. I think we could really go long ways with the same energy.
There needs to be some central authority that you submit to make things a meme.
Like your meme.
Like you gotta have. Well, sure, but that's too open source. I feel like there needs to be some sort of governing body that is actually in charge of what is a meme and what isn't. Because now
authority.
Yes, we need a meme authority. This is a big thing that Biden needs to get going on because nowadays people use the word meme to mean anything, and I feel like it's truly lost its way. So we need Biden. I need you to appoint a prime memester and get all of this stuff moving, get the Department of Meming out there and really kind of work to bring memes back to their former glory.
Back in my day, we didn't have
Is this your Biden?
We didn't have a meme minute. We didn't have one, man. Now
is this your Biden?
Yeah, this is Biden. Does this not sound like? Is this not a good Biden?
It's. I was trying to figure out if you were doing George Bush or if you were doing Biden.
Oh, no, you can tell it's Biden because I say "man" a bunch.
Okay, fair. You didn't say anything about ice cream, and you've been talking for more than 2 seconds, so I figured it was unclear.
We're appointing. Listen here, Slick. We're appointing Corn Pop Meme Lord of all memes, curator of the meme database.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fancy technology. I don't listen, man.
This is a really good Biden.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I work on it all the time.
Everyone, email It Gets Weird with your candidates for the prime memester, who will lead the Department of Memes into the 21st century.
Who's that pervert Bolton? Let's get Bolton.
Michael Bolton? Or
let's get Bolton.
You want Michael Bolton to be?
Yes, okay. I do. Don't.
I was going to say
hard
drill.
about it. Oh, okay. Well, sure. He's like the meme Twitter guy. Yeah. I was thinking somebody who has like these sort of like professional sort of bona fides.
Okay.
A background of working in
Yeah. Has put out at least one sexy Valentine's Day special.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm sure this has everything to do with what we're talking about today.
you might want to edit what you just said out.
Yeah.
Because,
Okay. I'll make a note to
it has
myself.
absolutely nothing to do with any of that.
Okay.
Although we could twist and stretch and squash it.
I'll be pitching memes all episode. Don't
Okay,
worry
yeah.
about it.
If you ever see a moment where you're like, oh, this could be a good memeable moment, it's like a teachable moment, but
Yeah. But more useless.
top text, bottom text in impact
Mhm.
font. Were you also like really annoyed when basically everything online became a meme? Like instead of there being any sort of
That's the premise of this whole
Yeah.
scenario that we've been
Yeah, I
working
know.
on in the last like 5 minutes of this podcast.
I'm
is,
like
is how meme means nothing anymore.
I was a pedantic little internet forums nerd, and it really
You
pissed me
needed
off for a
impact
while.
font, top text, bottom text.
A meme meant something, and now it means nothing.
Yeah.
Memes nothing. Niall,
Yeah, what's up?
this week I took a little trip to Scotland.
Nice. Wow.
Uh,
did you try any good like scotches or have some haggis?
I mostly visited. This is actually what I did in Scotland. I mostly visited curry houses,
Mm.
which were great. But I went there this time for some spiritual nourishment
Okay.
of the extraterrestrial variety.
Spiritual extraterrestrial. Okay, I'm with you so far.
Spiritual is such a
Wide term.
loaded word for this show specifically. No, I wanted to learn about some UFO sightings in Scotland.
Okay.
And I found out about a phenomenon and a place that is very much about that. I don't know. I don't know. I needed
That was you going from your Biden impression to your Kamala Harris impression, where you just like say nonsense that means absolutely nothing, and the sentence is somehow like a full paragraph long.
I don't know how many weeks we are doing no AC in your apartment, but it is already getting into my brain.
Yeah.
So
And what sucks is it was like nice and cool like 3 hours ago, and then
but
the
as
sun
soon as-
came out, and now it's fucking sweating.
Well, and as soon as like we're locked in here together,
Mhm.
it just we both radiate heat.
Yeah.
It's a real problem. So if I say anything stupid or dumbass, stupid shit in the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks, it's just because it's so hot.
Yeah.
But no, Niall, some have called this place the UFO capital of Scotland.
Okay.
Others have gone so far as to call it Scotland's Roswell and the quote unquote UFO capital of the world.
Okay, now that would have to be debated. You have to bring
Yes.
that to I don't know, like MUFON maybe. Would they
It's-
be the ones in charge of that?
Well, MUFON would be one of them. There's plenty of organizations you could.
Could we okay, sorry, a little bit of a tangent here.
Yeah.
But I feel like they're leaving some money on the table. Hey, MUFON, I got an idea for you. If fucking Michelin tires can put out a magazine that somehow rates fucking restaurants and make a bunch of money off of this thing, MUFON, I'm begging you, put a travel guide out there for UFOs.
Surely something like that exists.
Oh, probably.
Because
but you got to make it official. You have to become the standard bearer for that thing.
yeah.
And if MUFON creates, why don't
we do it?
fuck MUFON?
Stay
You didn't
out of
hear
our
this.
fucking
Stay
business.
out of our business. It gets weird. It's going to put together the travel guide.
You didn't hear shit. MUFON.
I've edited all of this out of the podcast.
We're gonna put this together, okay? And we're gonna make an absolute killing.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the whole point of it. I'm
And
not in
first-
it for the community and the culture.
No.
I'm in it for the money.
And first, Kyle and I will need to secure funding to go visit all of these places.
Yes.
Because we have to get bespoke pictures and stuff, and like
Yeah.
really be able to write about these things from experience. Because otherwise, it doesn't read as true.
Yeah.
So much like, people probably had to go and try all the Michelin starred restaurants and bullshit. Now we have to go check out all these places.
The United States government has really taken an interest recently in UFOs and that phenomenon generally. So maybe we could get a
Hey, President
grant.
Biden, could you maybe slap us some federal funding to get us to these places?
Listen, Niall. I can't do it. So it is a little George Bushy, maybe.
Yeah, it goes. You
can't-
put a little too much Texas
I'm
in Biden. He's
sorry,
from
yeah.
Connecticut or some shit.
Who knows?
Yeah.
And who cares?
Yeah.
So these are all bold claims that I've just made.
Mhm.
But there is a deep history of UFO sightings here. This is also a general area and a town. Like I said, this is the town of Bonnybridge. and the broader Falkirk Triangle area.
Okay.
So Bonnybridge is a small village in the Falkirk Council area of Scotland.
So if it's a wider triangle area, does that mean it's like an isosceles?
This one, I believe, would be an isosceles, yes.
Okay.
I did not make note of that when I was doing the research, but you could probably call it an isosceles.
Okay.
But the thing is, it also kind of depends on the angle that you're coming with it.
Yeah,
because
I was taking a guess.
it's a little ill-defined at the end of the day.
Okay.
So if it's the isosceles in your mind, that's what you're picturing, then that's what it is.
Okay.
So to the east is the actual town of Falkirk, and to the north is Stirling. And these three towns are kind of like, at least one of the maps I was looking at, these kind of come together to create this like Falkirk Triangle area. But like I said, the area doesn't have hard and fast borders for experiencing the strange, so it's a little open to interpretation. Just this general area. And our central location of Bonnybridge is a very small village. The population is somewhere between 6,000 and 6,800. Not a particularly remarkable location unless you're a UFO truther.
Okay.
Between 1992 and 1994, this is what it's known for, there have been over 600 reports of UFO sightings and strange alien experiences.
In those 2 years.
In those 2 years.
Okay.
There are many outside of those 2 years
I was going to say, okay. Because, I was trying to find if we're dealing with like a flap here or if we're dealing with like a place that is, because look, these guys are trying to pitch themselves as the UFO capital of the world.
Yes.
So I need it to be more than just a 2-year period in which there's UFO activity, or else they're fucking out of the running. They're still going to be in our guidebook because we will need to go there. But
I would love to go.
Oh yeah, great.
And it is more than those 2 years. In fact, we covered one of these experiences on our show many years ago.
Did you do it or did I do it?
You did it.
Fantastic.
I'll bring it up later, and I have
We'll see if I remember any fucking thing about it.
But yeah, it's been going on for decades. And some would even say longer than that, depending on your interpretation.
A little bit of ancient alien stuff here.
Kind of. It's not so much ancient aliens as it is. We'll get to this, but it is basically like, these legendary tales of paranormal sounding things, is it just the same phenomenon but being interpreted differently by people from the 1100s or whatever? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
We'll get into that a little bit because that is part of the theory here. But so various online articles covering the Falkirk Triangle cite an estimate of, at one point, 300 UFO reports in 1 year in this one town.
That's a lot.
It is. Supposedly 1 in 3 residents of Bonnybrook claim to... Bonnybridge. I don't know why I called it Bonnybrook here.
You want to have a Donnybrook. Donnybrook and Bonnybrook. Wow, that is hard to say.
Bonnybridge. Supposedly 1 in 3 residents of Bonnybridge claim to have seen a UFO.
That's really high.
That is super high, yeah.
Jesus, okay.
If the sightings are to be believed, this is a major UFO hotspot on the world map. It is worth mentioning, however, that because the area is somewhat ill-defined, some UFO encounters are considered canon, while others would be considered, in some cases, to be outside of the Falkirk Triangle. But like, again, it's really an amorphous thing.
Yeah.
So like this general area of Scotland, lots of UFO activity.
Well, and then there was the UFO crisis on Infinite Earths, and that really reset a lot of the canon.
Yeah.
So some of them became Elseworlds and, in reprintings and stuff. And so it really gets kind of complicated.
It's convoluted.
What do you think the ratio of people that have seen a UFO would be if we talked about like Roswell or like, I don't know, like a major UFO hotspot?
Way less.
Yeah. But is that just due to population density? Because there's only like 6,000 people here.
That also, I think you're talking about a number of like valid factors for why it is this way. But I don't know with certainty.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have like a scientific.
I have also too like what the UFO landscape looks like since like 2010 as well, and it's different.
Okay.
Now, what do you think about the ratio of people to cake? I just wanted to say that. In some of the maps, the triangle extends out like further towards western Edinburgh.
Okay.
And just slightly south of the midpoint between Bonnybridge and Edinburgh is the town of Livingston, which, like, if you are literally drawing a triangle between these three towns, it is outside of the triangle. I'm not doing that. I won't do that. You can't make me do that. It
Yeah.
is a big amorphous area. So Livingston, it is a part of the triangle.
It's called a triangle as an homage, not
Yes.
as a clear definition
Exactly.
of like landscape. You know?
This brings us to our first story, one which predates the explosion of cases in the early 90s. This case actually takes place in 1979, and it is our biggest case in this entire list of cases.
Okay.
This is the Robert Taylor incident. So Taylor was a forestry worker in Livingston who claims to have had a bizarre, frightening alien experience. And by the way, I just wanted to throw out there that the website UFO Insight is now doing subscription-based content. And if you try to read more than like 3 articles in a day, it kicks you off.
Oh, that sucks. They're going the New York Times method.
So they're going the New York Times method, and that was really sad to see because this was a great wealth of resources.
Can you do the same like clear your cache kind of shit?
Can I turn off JavaScript? And I haven't tried it yet. I just found this out today, so I'll get on that and I'll report back. And I'll let you know if you can or cannot. Maybe you can. I don't know. I wouldn't know anything about how that works.
Yeah.
But this is from the Livingston Deckmont Woods incident, a criminal investigation of a UFO.
Really?
Yeah.
Full on. Okay. Because I would say normally you don't get a criminal UFO investigation.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, this particular UFO was carrying an alien that was known for embezzlement and wanted
grand
for
larceny.
yeah, exactly. Actually, we'll get. You'll understand here in a little bit.
Good.
So.
There's lore. Fantastic.
Here's what the article says. It's highly probable that one of Scotland's most famous UFO encounters, sometimes referred to as the Deckmont Woods encounter, involved the alien abduction of Taylor, or at least some kind of interaction. Whether aliens whisked Robert Taylor off from the Deckmont Woods that cold morning or not, it remains one of the most interesting and genuinely strange cases on record. So one morning, Robert Taylor decides to pull his vehicle to the side of the road and just stretch his legs and bring out his dog to do the same with him. And he's on this quiet road near the M8 motorway, which I think is a little bit country, you know, but I don't really know. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I don't actually know what this road looks like, but it sounds like it's up against a forest here.
Okay.
So at about 10:30 a.m., he's walking through the woods with his dog. It's a 7-year-old red setter named Lara, and he's coming up on a clearing through the trees, and that's when shit gets crazy. In front of him, there are probably, oh shit, I didn't convert these numbers, 12 yards away.
Okay.
So I can picture what that's approximately.
Yeah, 36 feet.
Yeah.
You're good to go.
12 yards away is a quote unquote flying dome. This circular object that was just like sitting there. It seemed to be floating, and it was close enough that he could tell that this thing had sandpaper-like texture with this like black metallic material on its surface. And Taylor describes this smell of quote unquote burning brakes in the air.
I'm for some reason now, just the way you described that, imagining that it's covered in like grip tape for skateboards, you know?
Yeah, this is also not only the first criminal investigation into a UFO, but the first skateboarding UFO.
Yeah, Tony Hawk decided to use this thing to finally eclipse his 900 and did a full like fucking 1080 or something.
Yeah, he was out there filming 6 skate footy with this thing, and it, you know, this thing was also beat this man up.
We finally got a non-Euclidean skateboard.
Yeah. Finally.
It can do 4D tricks.
Oh my God. We've been waiting for so fucking long.
This non-Euclidean skateboard can take you back in time by grinding on the 4th dimension.
we can finally move on from the X games and get into the triple X games.
Oh no,
or is that a thing?
What was the fucking? Oh, I'm sure some porno's been named the triple X games, but I was trying to think of What was the like dirt bike game on like GameCube?
Motocross.
No, you didn't let me finish.
Oh.
The one where there were cheat codes that let you have the women be naked on the dirt bikes
I have no idea.
or something. It was like a BMX,
A horny dirt bike game?
either dirt bike or BMX. I never played it. I've only heard about it by reputation. But there was like a game where you were like doing extreme sports, but it was like intentionally. The whole point of it was like everyone was like in bikinis and shit.
Oh my god. I'm just thinking about how horrid it would be to dirt bike nude.
Oh, that would be awful.
Plant that bare ass down on you. Because I hope that they don't have I hope they're all cleaning off their own dirt bikes, I guess is what I'm saying.
You go by gym rules. You got to wipe down the machine when you're done
for real.
with it.
So Taylor notices that there were two smaller objects falling off of the craft and onto the ground. He described these things in the report that he would give as looking like Second World War naval mines.
Okay, it's called BMX XXX, and I googled horny BMX game and it came up immediately.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was like it came out in the early 2000s on the PlayStation 2. It was awful. Supposedly, never played it.
Cool.
Anyway, do you ever have a thing where you're just like, I need to like
have to know.
I have to know this, so I have to like quickly look it up so then I can focus on doing a podcast
and then
again.
You can download the ROM and emulate it later.
Oh, I'm gonna go over. I'm sure they have it at Disc Replay for like $5.
The GameCube era graphics. That shit's hot.
Yeah, I'm gonna use my PS2 to really use the full graphical capabilities of my PS2 to get my rocks off.
It's already hot in this room, and I'm kind of thinking about the GameCube.
Yeah.
So these objects that had come off of the main craft all had spikes on them, and they started to just move towards him. There were two of them, and they were one on each side of him.
Mm-hmm.
And they made a strange noise against the ground as they moved towards him. And when they were kind of up near him, this attachment with a spike on the end shot out of each one and attached itself to each leg of his trousers.
Okay. What? Okay. Yeah, keep going.
Then these things begin to start to pull him. It was basically these two weird little mine things were going to try to pull him towards the main craft. He was starting to panic at this point and tried to wrench him. I would
too.
He's trying to wrench himself away, but his body, he claims, did not respond when he started to panic. Now, as all of this begins to go down, he smells this rotten, choking smell, and immediately his resistance is weakened, and it begins to pull him, and he gags on this odor that's in the air. And he begins to lose consciousness. And the last thing that he hears is the hissing of these objects and the barking of his dog.
Okay.
The next thing he knows, he is alone on the floor of the forest in this clearing. The object is no longer there. And he gets up and he notices that his legs ached. He also realized that he couldn't really bring himself to speak. He was trying to speak to his dog to try and calm her down, and he just couldn't say anything. He was just like in shock, or something strange had happened to him.
Yeah. Okay.
After he kind of gets his wits about him, he gets back to his car. It was in the spot where he left it, and unfortunately, the car would no longer start. The battery was dead. Something had drained it.
Yeah, because it's a UFO encounter, so of course the fucking car battery has to stop working.
Yeah. Technology fails.
Car battery, I wish that car battery would stop working.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to get picked up on the mic, but damn, there is a problem in your parking lot. We've talked about this parking lot a number of times. There is a problem in this fucking parking lot with people's horns or alarms going off for
long stretches of time.
Long period of time.
I'll do my best to make that not awful to listen to.
I appreciate that.
I apologize.
Or you could turn it up.
Yeah, I'll
It kind
crank
of
it.
is thematic with what I was talking about.
It really
so-
does. We'll just look at this as it's back as
Fuck.
incidental audio. You know.
Yeah, perfect. So he would walk back home. And he shows up, and I actually watched a video that had him and his wife.
Okay.
Because his wife greets him, and she's just like, "What the fuck? You're covered in cuts and bruises. You on your face and arms. You have like a scar across your face, and your
Already a
pants are
scar.
torn." She calls it a scar. He had like a cut across his face. And he just straight up says to her, like, she says to him, like, "Were you attacked by a woodsman? Like, were you just out there? Like,
Did you get in a fight with a lumberjack?
Yeah, did a lumberjack just kick your ass, old man?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "No, I was attacked by a spaceship."
Okay.
And what I love in the video that I found of these two being interviewed for it was some sort of Discovery Channel thing. It's like the wife is like standing at the door of their house, and she's going like, "Oh," and I'm not gonna do an accent here. But
Well, you've been on such a roll this episode already,
Yeah,
so I
well-
figured you were gonna, just go knock this one out of the park too.
the Scottish and Irish accents are really hard for me.
That's fair.
Mainly because I find them so erotic. But no, she says like, she basically says to him something along the lines of like, "Oh no, dear, spaceships aren't real." He's just like aghast and just shocked, and is just like, "I was attacked by a spaceship," and she's like, "Oh no, those aren't real."
It's like, look, I get the impulse to be like, this is a wild thing that my husband is telling me, but maybe when your husband comes home like beat to shit and all cut up and bruised and everything, you don't want to start with just negating his premise at the very beginning. Maybe try to offer some support first.
I sort of doubt that's exactly how it went down, but the way she describes the story makes it sound like that's how it went down. So,
look, be a little supportive, even if you think your significant other has lost their mind. Try to be supportive and maybe work with them instead of just cutting them off at the knees.
And like this thing literally tried to do to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
But did I mention that his wife's name is Mary, by the way, Mary Taylor?
Probably. I don't know.
So Mary then contacts Robert's employer.
I think my husband's lost his mind.
It says here that he would always state that Robert, this is his boss talking, he would always state that Robert was not a person to, quote, make up stories. He had no doubts whatsoever of his genuineness or lack thereof. This is his employer's name, by the way, is Malcolm Drummond. So Drummond, I'm realizing, because I guess Drummond, interesting. So Taylor's a forestry worker. I guess he must work closely with like police enforcement or something, because I do believe Drummond is with the police.
Huh.
So Drummond basically gets an order in to investigate the area where the incident supposedly took place I'm sorry. He's some sort of manager because he's getting the other forestry workers involved. I apologize.
Gotcha.
But when they go to like investigate this, they don't really find anything. Everybody is like, something clearly happened to you, because like I don't know how you would beat yourself up in this way.
Yeah.
But like, we didn't find a spaceship.
It makes sense. You would expect them to not find it.
Yeah. And sorry, I was reading ahead here, which is why, because Livingston police do in fact get notified and brought in to investigate. They bring Livingston police in because it would appear that Taylor had been physically attacked by someone or something.
Yeah.
He had the bruises and the shredded clothes to show off. So the police would then treat the incident as a crime.
I hope this ends up with some sort of thing. Is it Miracle on 34th Street where it ends with Santa Claus in court?
I have never seen Miracle on 34th Street, so I'm going to say yes.
I think that's the one that they end up taking Santa Claus to court, and I'm hoping this ends with...
Under what pretenses?
I forget the exact thing, because I've never seen the movie in full. It's just like one of those cultural osmosis things.
Sure.
But I'm really hoping this ends with them taking either the UFO itself or the concept of aliens to court.
Well, I'm so excited to announce that this is the first court case with an extraterrestrial.
Fuck yes.
No, so they basically follow Taylor back to the site where he was supposedly attacked, and Detective Inspector Ian Wark would lead the team, and they would discover, quote, strange ladder-shaped impressions on the ground where Taylor claimed everything had gone down. They also noticed that there were these two indentation rows right where Taylor claimed that the two spiked objects that had branched off had moved towards him.
Okay. So they're like physical markings that would like
yes
that could be used to say
there was something here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's kind of loose as evidence goes, but
sure.
That's what he's working with. So they take his torn pants to get forensically analyzed, essentially. And I get the article says this, but I don't know how valid of a statement it is. But they say that the tears in the clothes would be in line with a machine-like object gripping and pulling him.
Okay, so like
I don't
look. If I learn anything from watching Dexter's, you can learn a lot from just various things in a forensic analysis. So I'm sure, much like they have a blood splatter person, they probably have a pants ripping person.
Yeah,
and that person is just like is able to identify what caused any sort of rip, tear, or really any sort of abrasion that would happen to a pair of pants
or rip torn.
Or it usually look, the position did start with Rip Torn, but he has since graduated on to starring in such movies as Men in Black and Freddy Got Fingered. So he was unable to continue the duties, but the position is still named after him.
I love that. We discussed Rip Torn and Freddy Got Fingered in the other episode that we talked about one of the related incidents.
Oh, you went back and listened to
I went back and listened just to see how much of this we covered.
Fantastic that we just meant that Rip Torn is a thing in all episodes. 6
years or so, we have learned nothing, is what I'm trying to say. We have changed very little.
Look, all I can say is we edit out burps now, and I'm slightly less uninformed about certain things, but not many.
Okay,
you know?
we've changed a little. I'll give us that.
Yeah.
So people didn't really believe that he was attacked by a UFO, but they did believe that he was attacked by something. So these track marks were investigated by the forestry workers, and it was examined by the police. And they were trying to make a match with something to these markings to figure out what attacked him.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, nothing matched. Nothing that they checked matched. Flight records over the airspace were also checked, and there were no helicopters or small airplanes that were overhead that day.
Imagine someone in just like a small airplane touching down next to you and just getting out and beating the shit out of you and then leaving. Like, that would be the worst. Like, I wouldn't know how to explain it either.
Imagine somebody in a small plane, like touching down next to you, getting out, beating the shit out of you, and then you can't identify it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So they examined this place and this evidence. They checked to see, like, they were like, oh, maybe like a crane, some kind of like crane was in the clearing.
As in the animal or the piece of machinery?
The machinery.
Okay.
Like maybe a crane from like a forestry worker thing was there. They found nothing. And
maybe they were trying to reach something at the top. Maybe we're doing like large scale forestry where you had to get and cut off tops of trees and stuff. So we had like a fucking scissor lift or a crane out there.
You never know.
Yeah, I'm with it. I'm trying to figure this out.
It could have been any goddamn thing.
Maybe it was someone in moon shoes. Who fucking knows?
Who knows? Of course, they were never able to fully explain the encounter based on his story. Everybody, it's the thing that happens with these stories. Everybody in the town is just like, Well, we're not questioning Robert Taylor's credibility. He is a trustworthy guy. He has no reason to lie he's an outstanding member of the community. Everybody who knows him knows he wouldn't just lie about something like that. The same old kind of song and dance with these UFO cases. And actually, I have here a photo of Robert Taylor with an artist's rendition of the craft that he says he saw. Take a look at that. Pretty good.
Okay. Yeah.
Kind of with the two orbs there. It does look like the world's gnarliest chode and two balls, kind of. But
if you really want to make things weird, sure,
and I
that's
do.
what it looks like.
Well, what's
What's the name of the podcast? I know. I know what I said. It's okay. It's like I was having a bit of trouble fully realizing this as an image in my brain because it's not like you were like, oh, this is like a saucer UFO or it was even an orb. This is a bit different.
Yeah, it's like a domed orb-esque thing that had two little drone orbs,
Yeah,
a dorb. And yeah, so he sticks to the story his entire life, as far as I know, and never goes back on it. Now, of course, this story received a lot of media attention, and there was the expected fallout that comes with media attention around these UFO stories. So TV begins reporting on him. Newspaper articles also report on the encounter. And, this also comes with the whole, he was an upstanding member of the community, so why would he lie?
Yeah.
Many theories were also given to explain Taylor's story. So, like, on the very basic end, we have extraterrestrial encounter with a UFO. Others say, well, it could be ball lightning. It could be top secret military craft. Some people even claim that it was a hoax to drum up attention for UFO tourists. However, if we take Taylor's story at face value, none of these really hold up, and thus it remains unexplained.
Yeah, the thing, okay, so if this had taken place in the 90s during that, like, boom of UFO stuff, sure. But the fact that this one is in 79, that doesn't feel like a tourism thing to me.
No, I mean,
it might be, but I don't know.
Well, the thing that I would say about that is probably not coming from him. No.
Fair.
But I would also say that, like, Roswell ended up being like an industry.
True.
And that didn't happen too much longer after the initial incidents were out in the open. People were able to, start turning a profit through various means.
Fair. I guess I wasn't thinking of them trying to recreate something from. Basically, I was like, why here? Why would this be the place? But I guess it's as good as any.
Why recreate Roswell? Well, that's an interesting thought.
Oh, good.
We'll come back to that. So Robert Taylor did pass away in 2007, but his legacy as a UFO experiencer in this small town Scotland, it kind of serves to set the tenor for the next few decades of Scottish UFOs in this area. At least that's how I'm kind of reading it. So a number of sightings came out around the same time as Taylor's in the same general area. I believe these are stories that would come out after his had come out.
Okay.
But they claim to have taken place either day of or the day before his incident.
Okay.
Many of these stories are collected in a book called UFO Scotland, The Secret History of Scotland's UFO Phenomenon by author Ron Halliday. So one of the accounts that was given to Halliday claims that at around 8 p.m. the night before Taylor's incident, this is now the 8th of November, so Taylor's was on the 9th, a man named Mr. Ferguson was bringing his taxi to a stop when he saw a, quote, ship of brilliant lights, which was shaped like a ruler heading in the direction of the Decmont Law region, which when I looked up Decmont Law is a hill. It is a named hill that they have in this area of Scotland, by the way. I don't think we have very many named hills in the United States.
I mean, we probably do, but they're like, I guess we have more mountains.
Think back to the big hill in the marina in my old neighborhood.
Yeah.
Nobody named that shit. And maybe we should have.
Yeah, maybe you should go back and do that yourself. Do you want to claim that for the podcast?
Yeah, sure. Let's claim that one.
Okay.
We'll name that hill It Gets Weird Podcast.
Yeah. We'll name it at IGW Podcast.
Yeah.
Just use our Twitter handle.
We'll name that hill patreon.com/itgetsweird. So around the same time, two brothers, Stephen and Alan Little, also saw a spherical dome-shaped object in the Bells Quarry region of Livingston. Now, these two guys, they saw this from their home. They estimated that the craft was about 1,200 feet from them, and it was hovering about 150 feet above a nearby road. They would also recall that white, red, and blue lights ran around the outside of the vehicle.
So it's a USA UFO.
USA UAP.
Yeah, there you go.
This UFO would remain in their view for several minutes before it just faded from sight.
Huh.
And the entire time it was completely silent.
Do you know, okay, faded from sight. Do you mean the thing actually like discorporeally
This is
like
1,200 feet away, and it's at nighttime.
Okay.
When I hear stories like that where they're like, it fades away, I'm assuming the lights disappear.
Fair.
And that they couldn't see anything after that.
I didn't know if it like disapparated or if it like actually, or if it just kind of like went away.
Yeah, if it had been just like a thing just straight up disappearing in front of them, I'm sure this would be worded differently. I think it is just the lights disappeared in the evening.
Okay.
So, then a few hours earlier at about 6 p.m., Josephine Quigley, along with four of her friends, saw a, quote, circle of lights that were hovering over the Livingston area. She couldn't really make out any details, but she did note that it moved too slowly to be a helicopter or an airplane. Then the next day, as Taylor's whole situation in the woods happened, strange lights and objects continued to be witnessed by members of the public in and around Livingston area. And that's all I really get on that idea.
Okay.
I don't get specifics on all those sightings. But then there were also sightings the morning of the Robert Taylor incident. So in the early morning, Graham Kennedy, this guy's heading west on the A89 road, when he looks up and sees an extremely bright light passing overhead his car. And even stranger still, the object seemed to head towards his vehicle at an absurd speed and then only change direction at the last moment. So as he's bringing his car to a stop to avoid hitting this object, a nurse, Anne McGregor, was walking along the A89 on her way to a nearby hospital.
And witnessed the wildest game of chicken she had ever seen.
The craziest game of chicken ever, of all time, intergalactic levels.
Yeah.
And
fucking like this guy's Datsun versus some weird UFO, you know?
Now, as she was walking, a strange hissing sound was heard, and it seemed to be coming from above her. And so she turned up to look, and she saw a bizarre bright light seemingly heading towards the Decmont Law region. It was very similar to this bright yellow light that was witnessed by a cyclist a few minutes later. So a cyclist also sees a light, reports a very similar thing a few minutes after when this person supposedly saw it. Then I don't know what is up with this time range.
Okay.
So I'm just telling you this, but somewhere between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m.
Okay, so it's a Comcast worker.
Mrs. Scott, this woman was standing waiting for a bus facing the Pentland Hills. And as she was kind of just like, nonchalantly staring ahead, she suddenly noticed this, quote, round silvery object with flashing lights that was hovering above her.
I know there's no way for you to know this,
yeah,
but I'm curious of like when all of these things were reported, because like if you take this this is one of those things that I find when you go back and research stuff that happened in the past, like with UFO encounters and stuff like that, where it'll be like, oh, all of these different people saw this thing, but you don't have any way of knowing, did one person say, I saw this thing, and then everyone else was like, oh yeah, me too. And that kind of like popcorns out over time.
Yeah, I wish I could tell you.
Yeah.
I think it's a safe bet that after the Robert Taylor incident, people came forward.
Yeah.
Because that's what it sounded like to me when I was reading about it. That happens with these cases a lot of the time. Unfortunately, because there's so many of them, I don't really see a lot. It really depends on a case-by-case thing. But like most of the time, I'm not getting like, this was reported at this time.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy. Like, that information had to have existed at one point, right? Like in the records of like a local police department or whatever. But it doesn't exist in these sources, and I don't know if it even exists in the like books and articles that they're pulling from.
We got to go get in the microfiche.
Yeah, which we can't. Well, send us to Scotland and maybe we'll find something out. It's and it's crazy though because we've run into UFO stories, and it's usually one individual story or like multiple people who all experience the same thing. That's when you get like the details, obviously, of like it happened at this time, we reported at this time, etc. So unfortunately, I don't know. So this thing's hovering overhead, and she turns to another lady at the bus stop, and she's like, "What do you think that is?" And the woman tells her she's not sure. It's just clearly, quote, something out of the ordinary. And they both just watched this disc-like craft as it just sped off in the direction of Decmont Law.
Huh. Okay.
So this bout of sightings, especially Taylor's, are what truly kicks off the modern era of Scottish UFO sightings within the Falkirk Triangle. Our next notable case comes in 1989, 10 years after Taylor's incident. Wish I had more information than this, but here's what it says. Near Shield Hill, Scotland, in Bonnybridge, 1989, it was a well-witnessed UFO sighting. A fire crew were attending to a blaze at Gradram Moss when a red UFO object appeared to be hovering in the distance. It came towards the fire engine and then flew off towards the west. A second object then appeared. It was white and it hovered above Loch Elrig at about 20 feet from the witnesses. Then it just rushes towards them before veering away at the last moment. A third object was also seen passing overhead. This case was investigated by Malcolm Robinson, who is a prominent Scottish UFO / paranormal researcher. So, I wish I had a little more. I don't know if this is like if this is somewhere on like a Scottish like UFO program or something, but that's all I got.
You got to get on weird Scotland and
guess
get
so.
that full story.
Yeah, so couldn't get more than that. It gets brought up in quite a few of the articles, but I just wasn't sure of the source. So I'm guessing it's in a book somewhere, but I don't know. Our next set of significant sightings comes from the 1990s, and these sightings are the ones that get referenced as spurring on the absurd UFO flap that Bonnybridge and the Triangle are known for. So November 12th, 1991, it's about 9:30 p.m., there are two photographers taking photos of the BP Chemicals plant in Grangemouth, which is, again, this is within the Triangle. Okay. And that's when they notice that there are these two tiny, dimly flashing lights over by the two flashing pylons at Kincardine Bridge. They watched as this object, which they thought at the time was a helicopter, they watched as it sort of slowly flew over the bridge to above this brightly lit Grangemouth Stadium, and it just hovers there silently for about 5 minutes. And this UFO did not make any noise. It's about 2,000 feet above the ground, and then suddenly it just dips and then increases in speed, coming to about 200 to 300 feet directly above the witnesses. And it was the entire time emitting when it got close to them, they noticed that it was emitting a quiet pulsing hum.
Interesting. I'm waiting for when you bring up whatever case I covered, because I'm still for some reason unable to place this thing. But like, so it's not just in one place. Like, sure, it's all within this triangle, but we got this one's more of an industrial thing. One was like on above a road. The first one was in like kind of deeper into the forest. So it seems because like I don't know, maybe this is just not actually a thing, but it sometimes feels like when there's a UFO case that kind of sticks around one
particular geographical.
Everyone sees it on a road, or everyone sees it deep in the forest, or it's over one town, or whatever the fuck.
No, this is an incredible variety of experiences, which is why the Falkirk Triangle is like legendary.
It's a lot of two crafts and a lot of white, red, and blue lights so far, which is, I understand why these are all being kind of grouped together.
Yeah. Now, there's two very notable accounts the following year as well. So in 1992, local businessman James Walker was driving between Falkirk and Bonnybridge. As he drove, he noticed some strange lights in the sky. He parked his car on the side of the road to watch the lights, trying to make out what they were. As he got back in his car to continue to drive, he claims that the lights came together to form a much larger star-shaped object. The star UFO then descended closer to the road, hovering a ways down from Walker. So what I'm picturing is like it comes together and then it lowers down towards the road, but it's still like a distance down the road.
Okay.
I don't have a lot of exact details on like,
Fair.
Distances.
But it was a group of things that then turned into one star.
One thing that was a star shape. Yeah.
Okay.
Walker stopped his car again to watch, but then the object suddenly sped off into the night at an incredible speed, disappearing. Walker claims that this entire time he witnessed this spectacle, the object was completely silent. Then in Bonnybridge, the same year as Walker's UFO sighting, the Sloggett family, this is specifically Isabella Sloggett, who is referred to as the matriarch, and her daughter, they are out for a walk in the early morning, and while walking, they noticed a ring of strange lights hovering over a nearby moor. A bit freaked out, the Sloggett family started to hurry back home. Then the family claimed that as they made their way home, a bright blue football-shaped light would follow in the sky over them. It would follow them towards their home as they went home, and it would then descend to block their path.
We're talking European, like American, or European football here?
Wow, that's actually a good question. I do believe I got this from a European website, so I'm going to go ahead and say European.
Okay, so it's just like another orb.
Yeah,
because I was trying to figure out that was a somewhat joking but a somewhat actual question.
Yeah.
Orbs are a thing that are in this series of UFOs.
And my brain did immediately default to the American football.
Yeah.
No, this might be an orb, actually.
Yeah. I've gotten into the Chinese football and you ever heard that band?
No, it's
literally a Chinese, like, intentionally doing American football type emo.
Excellent. I love that. No, I've never listened to that, but I'll have to check that out. So this blue orb blocks their path, and then it would just appear as a full alien craft the size of a house, supposedly.
Damn.
And it would touch down right in front of them. And the family claims that they watched in horror as the craft then opened some sort of door, like a hatch on its side, and a terrible deep roaring sound issued forth.
Huh.
So, needless to say, the Sloggett family ran the fuck out of there and didn't stop until the craft was completely out of sight. I found an actual quote from Isabella Sloggett about the encounter. She says, quote, "My daughter Carol and I saw a UFO land right in front of us. A door opened and there was a howl-like sound. I screamed and ran off terrified."
Makes sense.
Niall, it's also in 1992, with all the things I was just talking about, that we get the infamous A-70 incident, which we covered in episode 27,
Jesus,
titled Mike Lewinog Resurrection.
Oh yeah, the episode that like tanked our listenership.
Did it?
People, we found out. Look, I found out that was back when I was like watching the metrics very closely, like all the time. Turns out a lot of people that were listening at the time did not remember Mike Lewinog or did not find it funny that we got really sidetracked talking about the show for a long time.
Shit. Well, we do cover this whole story on there. So
if you missed that one the first time around, you can skip the first little bit where we get really distracted by an obscure kids cartoon from the early 2000s.
I feel like we didn't totally look. We've really established what we do here.
Yeah.
And I think that episode's actually pretty good.
We're out of spite. We're gonna cover Mike Lewinog on It Gets Weird TV in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
No, I don't know if it's actually true that it still is one of our lower listened episodes, but for a time that was like in my brain as the like standout. Like, why is this? Why did everyone skip this one? I don't know.
They saw Mike Lewinog and they just saw red and just skipped the episode.
No one wanted to go on the island where everyone, where,
honestly, I have a feeling there's really no reason for it.
Yeah, it's
fine. But if you want to know more about that, basically two abductees with some weird fucking stories. A lot of which involve nude in examinations from aliens. We talk a lot about the whipping of James Bond's testicles.
Oh right, yeah. There was a lot of talk about that was in Casino Royale, because it was Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah, so check that one out if you want to know this. But that is in the area of the Falkirk Triangle, Niall.
Turns out talking about Mike Lewinog and testicular torture is not like the best way to work on your listenership.
The thing is, I think that should be opposite. I think people should be really into both of those subjects.
Look, you just got your audience needs to know what they're in for, you know?
Yeah. Now they get it. They
Yeah.
get it.
So the
you
A70
out there listening,
incident,
you
yeah.
get it.
I vaguely do remember this case. I hadn't thought about it in years.
Yeah. It's been like over 5 years since we've done that one. So.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Now, local councilor of Bonnybridge, William Buchanan, was concerned enough with the reports of UFOs coming in that he appealed to 3 prime ministers about the matter. Prime Ministers Cameron, Blair, and Major were all contacted by him about the glut of UFO encounters in the area, but the Ministry of Defense would respond saying that they are, quote, satisfied that there is no evidence that the United Kingdom's airspace might have been compromised by hostile or unauthorized foreign military activity. Now, go ahead and put...
And the prime memester said, "Icon has alien attack." I gotcha.
That was really good. That was really good. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Jesus. It just threw me off so hard. Now let's go ahead and put Billy Buchanan in our back pocket for a bit.
Okay.
Now after 1992, we would get the incessant explosion of UFO sightings, which generally persist to this day, although admittedly not with the same fervor as they did in the 90s. This is also when people began to notice that strange encounters with lights in the sky extended beyond the town of Bonnybridge and out into the Falkirk Triangle area. Intense and bizarre sightings would continue to get reported in the area throughout the 90s. So I found some accounts from a paranormal investigator / UFO researcher named Andrew Hennessy, one of which he was present for.
Okay.
This guy gives tours, UFO, not sighting tours, but it's something like that, tours where you can go look for UFOs with him, and I think paranormal tours as well.
Okay.
So here's what he says. In September 1996, further north and slightly east of the Falkirk Triangle, in a place called Newton of Falkland, near Falkland and Fife. God, decomplicate your names, Europe.
Yeah, those are
Stratford upon Avon. Fuck off.
I know that not everyone knows states and counties and shit. And we can't really talk because our stuff's very arbitrary too. But I do not understand where anything in England is.
I have no idea. And you should fix that for us.
Yeah, probably fix make it easier for me specifically. Instead of me learning basic geography. If you could just make it easy for me, that'd be great.
So an Air Force family begins to tell their own stories of close encounters where they observe, this is the wildest shit I've heard in quite some time.
Okay.
They observe fields full of ant-like aliens or greys
What the fuck?
that appear to be swarming about, making nests out of saliva and the local hay crop, and who later then see tall white entities, possibly entities that are in charge over these swarming smaller entities.
Yeah, that tracks.
Teleporting down from a stadium-sized black triangle that was hovering overhead through an array of bizarre lights. So they claim that their field had these swarming aliens that were spitting and eating hay and making nests. And there were taller ones that would come down and be like, "Yep, this is alien activity for sure."
So we got an actual alien hierarchy at work here.
Yeah, it's super weird. I wish. It's super weird. This story gets referenced in a lot of places. I do not have a lot of details.
There's not much more out there for this. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Your fucking wildest UFO stories have the least information about
them. It's just one of those things where I am just assuming that this is in a book called Weird Tales from Scotland that is briefly mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just assuming that's where, and then you'd have to go, like you said, microfiching. I don't know how to find this one, but if somebody found this and I just somehow missed it, please let me know. That's kind of just any of these episodes. If I ever miss something, I just somehow totally missed the origins of this story, please email us. I would love to know.
We love context.
Yes. Then in 1999, near Edinburgh, about 15 miles south of the capital, at an old ex-coal mining town called Gorebridge, great name, with fellow ufologist, cameraman, and eyewitness Jackie Gillies, and that's Gillies and Hennessy, brokered the news that year forward that the entire town seemed to be under some sort of alien siege. Built on hard evidence of miles of footage, multiple witnesses' accounts, and local media coverage, it did seem that the establishment were going to investigate. Ultimately, however, the local MP decided to avoid this issue, no doubt due to the hysteria that this likely would have caused.
What's the deal with the miles of footage they supposedly have? Could I see that?
Here's the thing. I have seen some of these photos and things. I have a whole new bookmark folder called Gorebridge UFOs.
Okay.
That we just have to do this.
Okay.
Straight up.
Fair.
This is but this is like another thing that happened. Basically what they're saying, a town is supposedly being barraged by UFOs.
That sounds
supposedly
dope as shit. All right.
So, after the year 2000, there seemed to be less and less novel UFO reports. While I'm sure that they still get reported pretty regularly in the area, I didn't find too many significant stories after that 90s flap.
Okay.
Rest assured, to this day, the UFO truthers are still out there. I read articles about like people who would gather and go hunting for UFOs and stuff, but like it's small groups.
Yeah.
It's not what it was in the 90s. It's
very
mostly,
few things are.
Yeah. So, 9/11 really changed everything around the world. And yeah, so it's since like the 2000s, like 2010 onward, and even through the 2000s, I didn't find a ton of like remarkable UFO stories. And
but they still exist. They're just not.
They do.
It's just basic shit.
It's just
Okay.
So, there's also, I guess, there's a guy named Brian McPhee, who I guess is like they say notable UFO and paranormal photographer. But when I looked him up, I just found like reposts of like footage that he had filmed on YouTube. Somebody reposting his footage of UFOs, like blurry green, like footage.
Okay.
So I tried to find more about this guy, couldn't really. So it might be a local thing. I don't know. In 2009, the Ministry of Defense put the kibosh on all UFO investigations. They basically released a statement saying we're not dealing with investigations into UFOs.
Okay. So they just basically said we're done. Like we haven't gotten anything. So
and that would leave behind Buchanan and the Falkirk Triangle and Bonnie Bridge. Now we have our modern UFO chasing with paid tours and guides, plus plenty of blurry footage, the things you would expect. This has all left people to speculate. What's going on in this area of Scotland that makes it such a hot spot? Well, first off, some will claim that there's some sort of mass cover-up perpetrated by the Ministry of Defense. That's just the classic thing, but there's not a lot interesting going on beyond just like making that claim.
Do you know of any like big military bases around it or anything?
I'm so glad you asked. So there are multiple military bases in this area,
that tracks.
as well as 2 pretty busy airports. So that's another explanation that there is just stuff going on there, possibly secret military craft.
Hey, I'm racking this one up to a dumb, okay?
Yeah,
we're going
it
deep
could
underground military base.
It's some dumb shit.
Yeah, we're on some dumb shit this episode, guys.
Now, some people posit a vile vortex theory.
Okay. Hell yeah.
Saying that beyond, because there's like these 12 globally known major hotspots. I say known.
If you Google them, they're around.
Yeah, there's the 12 major spots. But in between those spots are minor vortexes, and one happens to sit in the center of the Falkirk Triangle. And a lot of the times I found that this theory is wrapped up with Scotland's deep history of the paranormal. There's a lot of stories here. A lot of them make mentions of wee folk, the fairies, and like how like people would get swapped out with like strange creatures and stuff by these wee folk and things like that. And that also kind of gets like brought up in the vortex phenomenon of like, hey, this is all the same phenomena. It's because this thing is here and has been here the entire time the planet's been around, and it just draws in like weird phenomenon.
So that's like the folklore-y kind of explanation for it. Okay.
Hennessy mentions a really weird thing that I'd never heard, or at least I don't recall hearing. Supposedly this area of Scotland was the location of the first historical appearance of chemtrails.
Interesting.
So he says, quote, the appearance of one of the world's first recorded chemtrails took place in 823 AD, clearly not made by mechanical or man-made chemical means. A white cross suddenly became emblazoned across an azure blue sky after prayer, signifying for the Scots that they would win the Battle of Athelstaneford and that St. Andrew would be their patron from that time forward. And so it came to be that St. Andrew's cross flag would become the flag of Scotland, inspired by this amazing event in the sky just a few miles southeast of Edinburgh. So
what the fuck?
A white cross appeared in the sky, and I'm assuming this is in some sort of text somewhere, some ancient text or biblical thing.
Yeah.
And that's a chemtrail.
Okay, so I guess I have to add historical chemtrails to my list of things to look into.
Yeah. People can take any conspiracy and say that it has existed throughout all of history.
Oh yeah, like
Reading into any of that stuff, like they can do it with anything. Now, the one last little thing I wanted to mention is the funny little one. There's possibly a money angle here.
Oh,
Would you
really?
believe it? Buchanan, that's the counselor for Bonnybridge,
Mm-hmm.
campaigned for the town to be twinned with Roswell. Basically, he had a campaign to make Bonnybridge the Roswell of Scotland. Like,
okay, so not even
officially.
like sister cities, but like
No.
actually make it turn it into a commerce.
He had ambitious plans to build a multi-million-pound UFO theme park to increase tourism in the area with high levels of deprivation and post-industrial malaise. To date, unrealized.
Well, I think we need to get on that because a UFO theme park in Scotland sounds like a really fun time.
I would love that. Love that.
Maybe it would give us a chance to cross over with Defunct Land or something,
Yes.
get some.
That would be great.
Yeah. So, because we already do have we have where was that in like Norway or something that there was the Ancient Aliens theme park.
Shit. Yeah, with
it was Von Daniken, right?
Von Daniken, yes, thank you.
And so come on, get a UFO theme park. Then you can have we've got the creationism theme park in Kentucky or wherever the fuck. Like you can just put these places up all around the world, and then that's just
we'll go there
for all of us. Yeah. Although I don't really want to go to the creationism theme park.
Sorry, I meant the UFO based ones.
Yeah.
So Niall, there's plenty more that I could talk about with the Falkirk
sure.
Triangle. There's all kinds of stuff. I recommend people look into it themselves, but I covered the big aspects of that case. So, are you ready for a big question?
Always.
All right. This is a short and sweet one. It should be short and sweet. Niall, what hot new shapes do paranormal locations need to be, geographically speaking, to start drawing in fresh interest in the UFO phenomenon?
Interesting. Okay. Because triangles are kind of the default.
Yeah.
So I feel like we do have to kind of make that more of a thing.
Do you want my?
Yeah, go ahead. Hit me up.
You know what's really popular right now?
TikTok.
Well, okay, yeah. I was thinking more Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, okay.
And I think that if we got an icosahedron,
okay, a little bit of a 3D shape there.
I didn't look up the term. I just knew that one.
Yeah.
If we got like an icosahedron sort of like area that extended, because it's a 3D shape, it extends, upwards as well. It's not.
Yeah.
So if we got like kind of an icosahedron, like Dungeons and Dragons sort of themed UFO hotspot.
Okay.
That would be so crazy.
Okay, so this just for some reason makes me think of we should get the geodesic dome at Epcot and make it all about UFOs.
Yes.
Like, can we get? I'm not talking about like give it UFO theming. I'm saying UFOs inside of the Epcot dome.
I like that. Now let me extrapolate from that idea a little further.
Yeah, go ahead.
What if we took the Epcot dome's shape,
which is a geodesic dome,
and then blew it up to be the size of, let's say the Earth plus its atmosphere.
Interesting. Okay, and so we give it kind of a firmament kind of thing.
Yeah, and this is the hollow Earth.
Hello Earth, hollow Earth.
Yes, and this is the hollow Earth in which Hello Earth, the UFOs. I'm saying that this is our reality.
Oh, you're saying so you're basically saying that we have that Earth is a man-made structure with a hollow Earth where you can then go inside of it and have the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's sort of it's a bit of a hat on a hat.
How do you do? Can UFOs exist in a hollow Earth people? I guess I do know that there are like alien crafts inside of the hollow Earth because we do have but how does that work gravitationally? Like, because we watched Godzilla vs. Kong for the Patreon at one point, and they have to go through the the point where the gravity of inside Earth switches with the gravity of outside Earth? Do you think that that's a factor?
Gravity is a psyop, Niall.
Oh, fair.
And I'm frankly ashamed that you've fallen for it.
You're right. It's all just God. It's just God holding us down.
Yeah, God takes his big, strong hands and he kind of pushes us down gently, because if he pushed down hard, he'd kill us all. But
Yeah.
he pushes down gently because
God's
he loves
softly
us.
using his boot to keep us on this planet.
We're all really licking the boots of God here on Earth.
They're probably, I don't know, like, what about like a crescent moon or some shit? Just like, make it something interesting. Make kind of a crescent ring around another place. Just,
I like that.
It doesn't always have to be a triangle, it can be other shapes.
It could be all kinds of stuff. It could be the shape of the silhouette of Mike Ehrmantraut from Saul. Everybody loves Saul Goodman.
What if we just, the new shape I want to pitch is just the state of Indiana. Just go.
Oh yeah,
the shape of the state of Indiana that's on top. It just happens to also be on top of Indiana.
On top of Indiana, but it's also like a little bit larger than Indiana, so it kind of
it's the size
out.
It's the size of Indiana in the DC universe, where everything's approximately 5% bigger to make the fictional countries and land masses exist there. So it's that kind of shape. So like a little bit of
Illinois
Michigan,
gets a little bit of a
Ohio
taste, and Ohio, like they get a little bit of it, but it's pretty much centered on Indiana. Yeah,
it's the bigger Luke of states.
Yes, Google bigger Luke, everybody.
That's maybe one time for a fun episode we'll do a bigger Luke episode. That'd be fun. So yeah.
Oh wow.
I shouldn't try to take control.
It's okay. That's the episode, Niall. I think that about wraps us up. Are you ready for some business?
Yeah, let's go and take care of some stuff. So if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us at IGW Podcast.
You can follow us on Facebook.com/ItGetsWeirdPodcast.
And we're on all your favorite podcatchers, from Stitcher to Google Play to Apple Podcasts to Spotify. If you listen to podcasts somewhere, look up It Gets Weird and we're probably there.
And email us at itgetsweirdpodcast@gmail.com. Look, if you're from Scotland, and I happen to know that one of our bog checking listeners is in fact from Scotland,
consistently posts pictures of the Scottish countryside, and we're all very jealous.
Thank you. Please let us know if we got anything wrong. I'll happily correct anything, or if I missed a detail, I would love that. If you have like extra sources on the stories that I referenced too, would love to know about them.
Or just go to the site of one of these UFO encounters and give us a cool selfie.
Yeah, that would be sick.
That'd be great.
So email us. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We have a $2 tier and a $5 tier. At the $2 tier, we have It Gets Weird TV, where we're currently finishing up. We're about to wrap up Gravity Falls. We watch a weird TV show on there and we talk about it. We recap and talk about it. And that comes out every other week on the $2 tier. Then at the $5 tier, you get access to that show. Plus, on the off weeks of It Gets Weird TV, you get an extra bonus episode. Sometimes it's me, sometimes it's Niall, sometimes it's both of us. We're doing our own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're getting weekly content at the $5 tier. Whether you donate to the $2 tier or the $5 tier, you also get access to our main show episodes 2 days early on Friday instead of Sunday. You get access to our Discord, where we're learning about how wet and dry the bogs in Scotland are from our listener. And all kinds of information on that Discord that we're just sharing constantly, mostly about which cryptids are the sexiest. And then, of course, we have a $1 tier that is just a tip. You don't get anything out of it. You're just saying, hey, I like your show. I'm going to do the bare minimum. I'm sorry.
I'm just putting our loyal followers at fucking kidding. On blast.
No,
all right.
I'm just kidding. If you donate at all, you're lovely. And yeah, it's just a tip. You don't get anything out of it. You're just saying, hey, I love your show. If you can't donate, please tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your congressman all about It Gets Weird Podcast.
All right. Thank you all for listening. This has been It Gets Weird, and I've been Niall.
And I'm Kyle, signing out.